ceding control to other pilots is less powerful. And we moved a bit towards that by making drone assist no longer a viable thing to rely on for fleets. And I think they're probably going to make more steps in that direction over time. And that's something that can help a lot in that regard. But we'll probably never quite get back to those early days of armor hacks, as fun as they were.
I got two.
Well, being on the armor hack side was fun. The other side was probably not so fun.
I was just going to say I have a little story that kind of reinforces Fozzie's point. When my Alliance PL started fighting Brave Newbies, I was kind of disenchanted with the idea of fighting newbies. It didn't really seem very challenging to me. And at first, my Alliance was just getting beat. We were not beat, but we were losing a lot of ships because our doctrines just weren't able to deal with their numbers. And that really inspired me to really start theory crafting, and I came up with the Graveler concept that we used against Brave Newbies, where we employed TFIs and all kinds of different T3s and pirate faction battleships and stuff to use their E-War bonuses and nooning bonuses and things like that. And we were able to suddenly, take on this large horde through tactics like Fozzie was talking about. So it's still possible. And I think he's right. It's like people seem to adjust faster these days, but it's definitely still possible.
Well, two questions I have right quick.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Dirk.
Well, no. I was just going to say that. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not to say that there aren't good theory crafters out there. There are. The problem is that not only can things be copied now, but people are it's much easier just to get into. I mean, if you go out there and do TFIs, great idea. And then all of a sudden the other side says, well, we can completely mimic that. Now, maybe, just maybe, they don't have the expertise in running them that you do, right? But if they bring 300 more than you did, then you can kind of mitigate that, right? It's just kind of the idea that I think it is much harder nowadays on the grand fleet level, okay? And I don't mean in small gang or anything like that. And maybe it's different when PL was going up against Brave, who couldn't as easily adjust to that kind of, meta because they're newer. But yeah, anyways, so BC, go ahead.
Okay, so I had two questions. I'm really glad you said what you said at the end there, Fozzie, about trying to do small gang stuff and getting, because one of the questions I brought up inside my corp and in my alliance is I hate fleets. I hate fleets when all I do is sit there, I'm one of the guys, F1, here's your target. To me, that is not PvP. I know people say it is, but I get, you know who's PvPing? The FC, the one who's called the targets and then we all shoot it. So the fact that you said that you kind of are looking at this, that's what I personally want, is more chances to go out where I actually have control of my ship. I need to have some knowledge of the game and how my ship runs and what I'm supposed to be doing, as opposed to just getting in a big fleet, being told who to lock and who to F1 on. Because that to me is not PvP. That is, anybody can do that. So I'm really glad you kind of said that about the thing. And I'm hoping y'all implement more of that into the game to where you say, you really don't need to bring 200 dudes. 20 dudes knowing what they really know how to do and utilizing the ships they're in could get the job done better, maybe.
And also we want to make sure that if you're flying with 200 dudes, that is a more engaging experience than it is right now. We don't want to just say that you have to be in a small group, but flying in a big group should have opportunities to make good decisions and to see the results of your good decisions, because that is a huge part of the fun of EVE, is being able to see that, all right, I did that well and I got a result, that guy died or something else good happened for me. And in fleets right now, that can be a bit tough to see. We want to make sure that as much as possible, we give people opportunities to have those kind of experiences.
All right, so we got about 15 minutes left. I'm pretty much done with the main topics that I had, but we did have some questions that had come in from, again, Reddit and the Evo forums that didn't kind of apply to what it was we were talking about. The first one came out of Reddit from a guy by the name of Not Perfect Yet, asked, what is the plan for bringing boosts on grid? Is it still out in the distance, or is it more near term?
It is getting closer every day. But yeah, I don't. You're going to be seeing more over the next. it won't be very long before you start to see opportunities to participate in testing the technology that'll make some of this available.
Which would make sense considering the release cadence and things like that. You can put something out and say, we're testing this technology. We need you and 500 of your closest friends to help us press buttons and test it to see if it breaks, because we could do it ourselves, but it's easier when we have other people who might just dick around and break something and let us know what breaks.
Okay, wait, but Dirk, before you keep going, I literally just remembered my second question. Let me just start it real quick, real fast.
Go on,
Fozzie, April 1st, the little thing came out about potentially, CCP is going to create this new server. It's going to be, everybody's going to be wiped. Everybody's going to start from zero with the modern build. That sounds kooky, but I mean, have you ever really considered doing that and letting people go play like Eve now, but everybody's back at scratch? I mean, could it be something to do to let them just kind of see how things would be, just to try it out?
Splitting up the game server I think, would be a very harmful thing for Eve overall. We only have shards out of legal necessity, and only the one. Any more splitting than that takes away a lot of what makes Eve really good. I think.
Do you think that would happen a lot? You think everybody a big portion would go try it? I mean, and that would be they've never come back. I mean, for a weekend, just have it up and
doing
say,
something like that on Sissy, maybe.
Yeah.
I could see maybe doing that. I had an idea a while back, back when this is going, again, this is not something we're going to do. I can tell you why it's not something we're going to do. But one of the ideas that I pitched...
says we're doing a full reset.
One of the ideas that I pitched for when we were talking about cool stuff to do for the 10th anniversary was to, and also things we could do for mystery code holders for the collector's edition and all that, I thought, wouldn't it be great if we set up an Eve 2003 server or something like that, and then as a test server, and you only got access to that if you either were an old character or if you had the mystery code or whatever, even just scaled up, but just kind of as a 10th anniversary thing. It turns out we actually you can't deploy versions of the server that old. A lot of the infrastructure behind it has changed so much that we'd have to
are you telling me that you would need someone to send you their old Pentium 3 in with 16 megs of RAM?
Not the hardware infrastructure, the software. So we have the code base, we have some code from there, but we don't have a lot of the tools required to deploy that code to a server and stuff like that. So there's only so far back we can go. We actually we have reference servers that we can use to test stuff that go back a fair ways. But yeah, I mean, doing something like that on on Sissy or on another test server, that seems like it might be an interesting thing to do, but it would probably have to be a temporary event rather than something that encourages people to split off.
Next random question I had here was related to the Ishtar. Do you feel the recent changes went far enough as far as real balance is concerned related to other ships in the hack class?
I think it's a bit too early to say for sure. It's likely there's going to need to be more changes. I think if you include the whole hack class, there's definitely going to need to be more changes. There's always going to need to be more changes to change other hacks as well. There's probably going to need to be more changes to the Ishtar over time as well too. But we're definitely in the watching the results of these first changes, and then we'll make more decisions from there.
I have a real quick suggestion. I think it'll make the entire Eve community happy if we just turn the Ishtar into a pair of shoes for Zenuria. He loves shoes, and everybody hates the Ishtar.
Yeah.
And then, that will get him to shut up, I would support that idea.
And then from the Evo forums, Lucas Kell from Space Monkey Alliance asks, are there any plans to remove or otherwise change local intel as it currently stands in null, or allow cloaked ships to be scanned down?
Nothing that we're ready to announce. I mean, I think what I'll say is that we've said this a lot, is that local as an intel tool is not something that we're happy with. The balance around it is not something we're happy with. The gameplay around it is not something we're happy with. And when it comes to cloak players, I think there's a lot of room for better, more interesting gameplay to be done there. So there's a lot of room to improve both of those two systems. But there's nothing that is about to be announced. But over the long term, I expect both of those two systems will change at least somewhat someday.
Yep. And then the final question that I have, and we can just chat about bullshit after this, is: do you happen to know if Valkyrie can be played using Iceboxer?
I'd expect you to have a very hard time doing that. I'd expect you to have a very difficult time doing that. Maybe with some really, really advanced macros or something. But,
Fozzie, how knowledgeable are you of the new proposed like tower structures and stuff like that?
I mean, fairly. Yeah.
Okay.
What I'm going to be able to say is probably pretty limited. But.
Fozzie, you could
Hold
look
on.
at
I think you can. Hold on. I think you can. I think you can actually, because there's been some question like. Now you showed all these different things like administrative arrays, assembly arrays, and all this other stuff. Now the question keeps coming up, and I'm kind of a little bit hit and miss on this too. Oh, are these all their own individual things that can be set anywhere, or do they still need to be kind of collectively hubbed together?
You mean physical locations? Like, do they all have to be at a certain?
Yeah, I mean like the mining array or the administration array. Can I literally put that one item out at a mining belt or anywhere in space, or does it need to be kind of like attached to other stuff?
There will definitely be some restrictions on where you can place them. You, for instance, will not be able to surround a gate with structure so that no one can get to the gate. And there will be some functions that only work if the structure is in certain places too. But there will be a lot more freedom for where you place structures after these changes than with the current Starbase system.
Okay, that's okay.
So April 28th? That
sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Tuesday.
April 28th, that's the next release. That is the one that is going to contain all of these changes to the nullsec ores. What are the other big features that are coming out in?
So the big headline
Sovereignty
feature is
stuff.
the ship skinning. So that
Yep,
you're going to be able to change the colors of all your ships, well, of all your Tech 1 ships, or most of your Tech 1 ships to start. And then that's going to be expanded on more in the future. It's really cool. It's available on Sissy to test out now. There's going to be a devlog coming next week with a lot more details. We've also got like the changes for nullsec, things like the ore changes, also the manufacturable upgrades for iHubs and the volume changes. We've got changes to the corp roles management UI to make it much more manageable. We've got changes to the opportunities, the new player experience. We've got changes to we've got 2 new burner missions. We got a bunch of stuff in this one. There's going to be some more devlogs with some details coming out over the next bit.
I joked one day on a show, but somebody in Twitch brings up logos on ships. Why not? Why not go to Pepsi and put out a Pepsi Ishtar?
I mean, it just doesn't fit in the universe, but we've got Quaif, which is...
Got Quaif, yeah.
We've got Space.
But it fits in the wallet.
Fits in the wallet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it fits in the wallet, exactly.
Now, is there is there any truth to the rumor that you and CCP Manifest have given up your seats at Vegas so that CCP Puncturus and CCP Mimic can come?
I think it would be great if CCP Mimic and CCP Puncturus come, but they will have to take my seats over my dead body.
I tell you, man, it's looking to be another bang-up time this year. Bigger, better, and badder.
Oh, Vegas is always amazing. I absolutely love Vegas, and I actually don't know. I don't think we've made any of the decisions about who is going to be going this year, so I don't know if I'm going to be going. That's going to come later, but I would absolutely love to go. So hopefully I get sent. Fingers crossed.
Just one other thing from Twitch. Zillera says, ask Fozzie when the next module stuff will be, plate, shield, X prop, whatever. And can they please give us a bit of heads up before the changes like this happen? Not just like...
So the module rebalance changes.
Yes.
Yeah, there'll be heads up. It's not in Danny. It's not in this 28th release. I don't think we're ready to commit to a release yet, but... I mean, it's not going to be too far away for the next batch. We tend to collect them up a little bit instead of just putting them in every release, partly because it extends it makes the downtime longer to do a module balance pass. So we try not to do that in every deployment downtime. But it'll be soon. I mean, and you'll know weeks ahead of time when it's happening.
Exactly, because there'll be posts on the forums, and then there'll be people crying and going.
Watch features and ideas. That the forum section where the entire first page is stickies. That's the one to keep an eye on.
It's the page of stickies, and then something's coming when it goes from being the page of stickies to the page of 3 stickies, and then the next day it's the page of stickies again. Someone's been through with the glue. So we've got about a couple of minutes left. Actually, we are.
Is there anything else you want to kind of pimp out there, Fozzie, as far as what's going on? And can't hear you.
Haha. Yeah, I'm actually. I'm looking
Oh,
up.
see, he
literally
totally just
just-
told us what's going to happen with supers. Without
Yeah, I said it. I didn't know what to talk on. So, I mean, I'll see if what I'm forgetting for the stuff that's coming out on the 28th. One thing I did look up while we were talking earlier, going all the way back to the mining changes from the anoms. So from the month before we moved the mining signatures over to anoms until now, nullsec mining by volume is up about 35%.
Okay, let me just reheat that because I know what you're talking about. I'm not saying it was it, but I mean, you have now a significantly different game than you did then. You know, you moved them to you when you come in the system, they automatically show up. You now have interdiction nullified, interceptors, which was one of the things we did back in the day. Was we'd scan these things down, we throw some bubbles up around it. So I mean, again, I think a lot of this stuff now is kind of an uphill battle to get people to go out, at least to come out of Empire to do. Is kind of what I was saying.
Yeah,
Kind of leave the security of Empire.
The ratio of mining between nullsec and highsec is also narrowed in that time. Like nullsec is a higher percentage of highsec than since then. You're right. Actually, there's a very funny. I think we've talked about this a little bit in some of the CSM summit minutes, but there's a number of stats for nullsec, and mining being the one where it shows most dramatically, where you see a hilarious thing on the graph that we call the "oh shit" interceptors effect, where the graph for mining and nullsec is steady increase, and then Rubicon it goes, whoop, and then it immediately starts rising again, and like within a month and a half is above where it was before and back to the old pattern. But it definitely caused everyone to panic right away, but then they got used to figuring out that there's ways you can defend yourself. You can always just murder face them with a skiff. There's lots of options available.
I will say just while we're kind of running out of time here that the one thing we did not talk about in this at all regarding sovereignty or anything like that is the whole concept of the troll scepter, and I think that's because you guys fixed that. I think that you nipped that whole idea in the bud, through a combination of things. But good.
Yeah, some people didn't believe me when I said I wasn't worried about it because it's super easy to adjust. I mean, this is one of those things where we said from the beginning that pure evasion is not going to be something that we expect to be a viable tactic. The question was just what is the least disruptive way of getting to that, and I think we found a pretty decent
less than 45
balance at this point.
I have a question about that. Let me ask this real quick.
Really quick.
What happens if you're locked down and you're in toasting something and you go outside of the range? Do you immediately lose lock and stop at toasting, or do you get the rest of the cycle to come back in?
You'll lose it. So so if you're talking about the Tech 1 module with the 25 kilometer range, when you move out of range, it stops having.
Does the module keep cycling though?
Yeah, it keeps going until the end of its cycle, so you still have all the negative effects.
Nice.
And if you're with the Tech 2 version, the max range is the same as max lock range, so you would lose raw lock when you leave that, anyways. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much going to do it for us. We've got about 30 odd seconds until the auto cutover will cut over automatically the people here. So I'd like to thank Fozzie for jumping on with us this evening. And that's pretty much it. Everyone else who's listened, whether you're listening live or watching live on Twitch, or you're listening in post, because yes, this is a podcast as well. I basically just take the file and stick it up. Pretty much that's it. Dirk, what's the website do we run?
TotalLeave.com.
Go there. CCP approved, apparently. Actually, officially.
It's a great site. Yeah.
It's actually approved because I don't...
They approve of it as opposed to approving it.
Well, it's approved because I don't pay for it anymore. So, we're out of it. Everyone say goodnight.
Good night.
Thanks.
Later.
Good night.